Hello, it's Laverne Henderson, and welcome to Happily Single Ever After. I was thinking a lot about compromise and the major role it plays really in life. It's always a good skill to know how to compromise, whether you're in school, whether you're at work, whether within your family, whether among your friends. That ability to give and take, that ability to think about the other person's point of view, shows love, shows that you care, shows that you're a good negotiator. It shows that you're willing to work things out and that you can see the big picture and that you're all for the common good. So, compromise in and of itself is a good thing. But here's where it becomes a little tricky, especially for me as a single woman. I learned pretty early that compromising was going to be a major part of any relationship that I entered into, any serious, committed relationship, especially anything that led to marriage. Here's the thing about compromising. In the beginning, everyone is kind of on their best behavior. You both want the relationship to work. You are able to set aside your wants and needs and sometimes desires to make the other person happy, or even just to maintain the peace or to move forward. Sometimes you can compromise with the intention or the understanding that the next time it comes to making a major decision, that the other individual will compromise more, or they will owe you the next time. And while that may be good too, in the beginning stages of a relationship, I think that when you look long term, actually gets easier because there probably won't be as much compromising going on 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road in your relationship, because by then you will know each other so well. Everything, you'll know the ups and downs, the quirks, the habits, and there won't be that much of a demand to compromise from either party. So that's a good thing. But in the beginning is where it's really, really tricky, I think. And you have to be careful. First of all, how you compromise and what you compromise on. You have to know yourself so well that maybe you have certain things that are non-negotiable, things that you are not willing to compromise on. And that's where you need to have those important conversations prior to getting into this committed relationship or marriage. So that's one thing, the things that are not even on the table for discussion. And both parties need to be very, very clear on what those things are. And then there are other things that are up for discussion, negotiation, and compromise. Again, communication is key. You have to be able to talk through whatever these items are, and you have to be able to express your wants, needs, and desires clearly so that there's no misunderstanding. And once both parties have done this, if you cannot reach a general consensus, if the decision is not favorable to both of you, entirely favorable, someone has to compromise. I think that the other person's love and care and consideration for you should make it very evident to them that you are really compromising for them, or this is a major compromise that you're making in order for the two of you to move forward. So as long as the other person acknowledges and appreciates your compromise. You're probably going to be okay. But here's the point that really bothers me, or really makes it a slippery slope for me. If you find yourself always compromising, doing all of the compromising, you make most of the compromise, and you are stamping down or diminishing yourself in order to make these compromises. You're not feeling appreciated or valued when you make these compromises. It gets to the point where it is expected that you will compromise. When you find yourself headed down that path, compromise is not a good thing at that point. I've often felt that whenever you're in a relationship, and this is a little difficult for me to say, but it is, I think it's very true. The person who loves the less or the least, there's no such thing as 50-50. There's always going to be someone in a relationship who has less invested or less to lose, or quite frankly, who loves the less or the least. Whomever that person is the one that truly holds the power and the control in a relationship. The person who loves, who's all in 100%, who would do and say and give anything to make this relationship work, stands to lose the most, stands to compromise more. It's sad, but it's true. Always get a good feel in the beginning stages of your relationship. Yes, if you have to keep tabs, keep tabs. Keep a running tally of how often you are compromising to move the relationship forward in order to even be in a relationship. If you find yourself doing 60, 70, or 80% of the compromising, your relationship is not that healthy. Yes, you're in a relationship. Yes, it may be better than being alone to you. And yes, you really want to do whatever you can to make it work. But ask yourself, is it really worth it to give so much of yourself, to give and give and give, and never get anything in return? The other person who is compromising less, who feels that they have nothing to lose, who feels that they can move on at any time and be fine, they're not willing to bend over backwards and compromise in order to keep you, in order to make you happy, in order to maintain the peace. They're not willing to do that very often. It gets to the point where it's their way or the highway, and they could care less about you and what you're going through and how your self-esteem is being pummeled and how you are losing yourself and your identity and your voice. They could care less. I guess what I'm saying is that compromise is a good thing, and it is a necessary skill, and we all use it at some point in life. But when it comes to being in a committed, healthy, loving relationship, be very, very careful in terms of how much you are compromising and the types of compromises you're making. Be careful. It may just be better to remain single until you find the right person who appreciates you and the value of your compromises and who is willing to reciprocate. That's a key question. Keep that in mind the next time you find yourself constantly compromising over and over again. Notice how it makes you feel. Is it healthy? Does it make you happy in the end? Why are you constantly compromising? That's another question you should probably ask. Just be careful. Be very, very careful with the circumstances under which you find yourself constantly compromising. And consider other alternatives, even if it means being single. Trust me, you don't have to compromise with yourself when you're single, because once you get to know yourself and who you are and what you stand for and what you love and like, you don't have to compromise to make yourself happy, because you know yourself and you're comfortable in your own skin. So, thank you for watching, and I wish you the best.